Alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. So tonight is the season finale for this year, and I'll be gone for a few weeks. I think the halaqah will continue. Yes, but I'll be gone for maybe 3 weeks, and then when I come back inshallah next year, we're gonna continue the story of Musa alayhi salam. Again, I want to highlight the importance of establishing a connection with the Quran. And some people think that this is just reciting the Quran, memorizing the Quran, which indeed is important, is very important, but it does not stop there. What worries me too is that I talk to some people, especially some youth, and they tell me, well, we cannot just understand the Quran, and the Quran is not a straightforward book, meaning it's not a linear book. It has layers of meanings, and I don't know who told them that, but this goes against the very verse that says, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ, that we have made the Quran easy. Now, some people say, well, it means that you can recite it and it's easy to recite. That's only part of it. We cannot possibly mean that it's only easy to recite. It is also easy to understand. And those people who are coming up with these ideas that you always need a scholar to interpret the Quran for you, what they're doing, and in fact, they are creating a barrier between you and the Quran. And this is not appropriate. Of course, if you come across a verse and you don't understand it, you should go and seek knowledge from someone. You should go and ask someone. But to come and say that I cannot read the Quran because anything I read, I won't understand, and I'm going to need a scholar sitting by every minute I read, that's not acceptable. Because you need to have this connection between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Quran is the connection. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. You all hold on to the rope of Allah. And what is the rope of God? The rope of Allah. What is a rope? A rope is something that connects two ends. And the Quran is the connection. So we don't want to lose that connection. So at least once a week, we should have this connection. That's maybe the attempt here in this mosque, that once a week we come together and we try and learn something from the Quran. Now, there's a beautiful hadith that says if there are people who gather in the mosque together and trying to learn the Quran, recite the Quran, learn the Quran, mentioning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it says to يَتَدَارَسُونَ الْقُرْآنِ, which means to study. So it's not just reciting. يَتَدَارَسُون means you are studying. We're studying together. This is what we're doing right here. Then the malaika, the angels, will descend. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes this majlis, this sitting, this gathering, a gathering where the angels will descend. Now, of course, when you study the book of God, the book of Allah, there are different things you can study. Now, we picked stories because stories are really fun to listen to. And it's not just for the entertainment part. God told us in the Quran, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ. So there's a lesson in their stories. So the stories we learn, the challenge we have is to make them relevant, is to make them practical. Like, how can I apply? And that's a question each and every one of us should ask every time we hear a story. How can I make that story relevant to me? How can I make it practical? Can I, for example, implement some of that in my life? How can I use it to change my life? Because I tell you, people out there are screaming for help. And by help, I mean spiritual help, guidance. A lot of people are misguided. And they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. And they strive and look here and there. They look in all kinds of books and motivation and inspiration, what have you. And they want this guidance. So we should not have, a book full of guidance and we set it on the side. Or we set it on the shelf. or we only open it in the month of Ramadan and we dust off all that dust, we dust it off and we open it in the month of Ramadan. No. The Quran is a book we live by. And it doesn't mean that you have to recite every single day and you have to, no, at least once a week. The Sahaba used to say that the Prophet used to remind us once a week. So he was not like, forcing, admonition and, reminder every single day down their throat. No. The Prophet ﷺ was very wise and he would pick the right times. So just once a week, inshallah, an opportunity for 1 hour or so to study together the Book of Allah. So I think you all remember that we were studying the story of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, right? Okay. Sleep check. I'm checking if you're asleep or not. Like you all look serious. No, I don't. It was Musa. Yes, it was Musa. You're right. I'm wrong. I'm just jogging your memories to make sure you're alive. You're awake. So yeah, it was Musa alayhi salam, and we studied Musa for how long? How many episodes do we have?
4 weeks, I think.
4 weeks or more? About 4 weeks, I think.
This is the 4th.
This is the 4th?
Yeah.
But the first one actually was an introduction. So that becomes the 5th, if we count that. So, what did we talk about last time? For those who were here.
I wasn't here.
Anyone? You've drawn a blank right now? Just tell me one thing, one clue.
The born of Musa.
The birth of Musa?
Born. Musa's been
Born? No,
that was the first.
that was the first one. So we had like
I wasn't here.
2 other.
Sorry.
No problem. There were 2 episodes after that.
So his interaction with when those 2 people fight.
Yes. So there was the fighting,
Right.
and the fact that he killed one
rescue,
person.
yeah.
Yes. And the second time he learned a lesson, so he did something else. He was able to control his. Well, it wasn't even a temper. It was just a rush to help the oppressed. By the way, so even the intention was pure from the beginning, because the motivation of Musa was to protect the oppressed, the weak. And that, by the way, if you study the story of Musa from beginning to end, you see that everything Musa did was revolving around this. To help the needy, the oppressed, the weak, to defend them. And all his life, he was, under threat. His neck was on the line. He was willing to put his neck on the line in order to help these people. And we saw an example of that last time. Now, of course, he did not mean to kill that person, but still, the reason he stepped in and helped and tried and defend that poor person from his tribe was because he was being oppressed by one of the followers of the Pharaoh. Now, what happened after this, incident? A man came rushing from the end of town, it says. So imagine he was like running all this distance to tell Musa that you gotta flee, you gotta leave. They're conspiring to kill you. You haven't gotten much time. It's not like you can go home and say goodbye to your mom and to your, siblings. You have no time, he said. You gotta leave immediately. So he said, وَجَاءَ رَجُلٌ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ يَسْعَى. He was running. يَسْعَى, like he was running, rushing. And he said, Musa, إِنَّ الْمَلَأَ يَأْتَمِرُونَ بِكَ لِيَقْتُلُوكَ. The people, the people of the Pharaoh, they are conspiring to kill you. So you're wanted, dead or alive, as we say. يَأْتَمِرُونَ بِكَ لِيَقْتُلُوكَ فَخْرُجْ. Get out immediately. You have no chance to prepare. You have no time. إِنِّي لَكَ مِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ. And I'm only advising you. I have nothing to gain, but this is what I heard, and my mission was to deliver the message, and I delivered the message. So I want you to stop here and think for a moment. Like anytime you're about to take a trip, say you're taking a hiking trip, or you're taking a road trip, a long trip, you obviously sit down and prepare. And you come up with a list of items you want to take with you, right? What do you think? Like, what kind of items would you come up with? You go, like, say you go on, I don't know, Flagstaff, or you're going out of state, you're driving to another state. What kind of items do you think of?
Clothes.
Clothing, okay. If it's especially now the winter, you know, you need some blankets too, maybe. What else?
Food, drink.
Food. You need to take a lot of snacks, maybe junk food, you know, whatever. Medicine, or like a first aid kit, you know, just in case you get some cuts, or you need, you know, some Tylenol and Advil, you know, some medicine.
Some money.
You need some money just in case you have to stop and buy something, or you know, you're stranded. You probably need money to tow your car, whatever, right? What else would you need? Flashlights, right? You said something?
No.
Don't be shy. You can tell me. No, I'm talking to her now.
Oh.
I thought she said something. I heard something. Or maybe she did.
What did you say? Shoes.
Shoes. Now that's a good point, by the way,
Extra shoes, yeah.
because Musa was not riding. He did not have a ride. Nothing to ride on. He left walking. So he did have shoes. Allahu alam. It seems like he did have shoes, but scholars say that after he walked for a distance, his shoes were falling apart because he traveled, he walked such a long distance. And some people estimate that to be about 1,000 kilometers, which is about 600 miles plus. Now, 600 miles is a long distance. Like, I think between here and El Paso is about 400 miles.
To and fro California, approximately.
You go back and forth to California.
California.
You go back and forth. Exactly, yeah, because I'm saying from here to Texas, well, at least El
650
Paso.
miles approximately. Written.
To California, back and forth. Yeah, so imagine you go to California, walk in, and you come back. That's one way for Musa. Or like between here and El Paso, I looked at it, it was like 400 miles. So it's not even, it's even more than that. It's like 2/3 of the distance. So imagine now Musa alayhi salam having to walk all this distance. And some people say it took him about 8 nights or 8 days and he complete 24 hours. Allahu alam. But it took him a while. Now, it's already hard that you have to travel such a distance on foot, right? But imagine on top of that, you had no food, no time to prepare, like I said, nothing to take with you, just your clothing, but no blankets. So obviously when he was sleeping in the desert, it was, you know, we know in the desert it's pretty cold at night, right? But not even one blanket, no pillow, nothing. So imagine how hard it was on Musa alayhi salam to endure all of that. And think for a moment what he had to go through. Now on top of that, one essential item, I don't think anyone mentioned it here, that's needed for travel.
Right.
Water.
Right.
You mentioned that.
A map.
A map, thank you. Like how would Musa alayhi salam know where to go? Come on. It's a desert. I mean, have you tried? Look at the desert. I mean, you don't know. I mean, there's nothing to tell you where to go. You can say, well, the east, but the east is just a direction, but it doesn't tell you, like, if you go this way, where are you going to end up? Now, it seems that Musa had an idea in his mind. It seems like he wanted to go to Midian. And the reason he wanted to go to Midian is because he knew that Midian was not under the control of the Pharaoh. Because the idea was to run away from the Pharaoh. They were after him. They wanted to kill him. So he knew that Midian was a safe haven for him. But he had no map. He had no idea where Midian is. And this is why when you read in the Quran, it says, وَلَمَّا تَوَجَّهَ تِلْقَاءَ مَدْيَنَ, when he turned toward Midian, قَالَ عَسَى رَبِّي أَنْ يَهْدِيَنِي سَوَاءَ السَّبِيلِ. He said, I hope that my Lord will guide me to the right path. This was the map of Musa alayhi salam. This dua was his map. He had no other map. And that's why you see it in his dua, Asa Rabbi, oh Allah, may Allah guide me to the right path, because I have no idea where I'm going. I have no map. I have nothing to tell me where to go. So imagine now, even when you're driving, if you have no idea where you're going, you don't have your GPS, or maybe you lost a network because you're in the middle of nowhere, so your GPS is not working properly, or maybe your phone is not working properly because you don't have data or something, or you're in no network zone, and then you feel lost. Even if it was 1 hour, you feel lost. So imagine Musa going day after day with no map. Now, to top all of that, the fact that he had to leave in a hurry, that's even much worse. Like, even when you plan and you go and you miss one of these items, you say, "Ah, oh, subhanAllah, I missed that, and I need it. I know I need it, and I want to drive back. I want to go back and drive back and get it and come back." Like, you forgot your charger, your cell phone charger, maybe. We forgot, your headphones or something. I don't know. But Musa alayhi salam, on top of that, like not having any equipments whatsoever, on top of that, he had to leave in a hurry. Like, if he waited, he would have been killed. So you can imagine how hard it was on Musa alayhi salam. It's extremely hard when you have to leave and you don't have time to prepare, you don't have time to say goodbye to anyone, and you don't have any companion. That's the other thing. Imagine you go on a long distance, you drive on a long distance, and you don't have anybody with you. It's really boring, it's hard. When you have nobody to chat with, and obviously you don't have a radio or a recorder or anything like that to listen to. So he said, فَخَرَجَ مِنْهَا خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبُ. So he fled the city. He went out of the city, and initially I'm sure he didn't even look where he was going. He just wanted to get out, because if he stayed in that city, he would have died. The armies of the Pharaoh were looking for Musa everywhere. And I'm sure maybe they did not guess that he was going to leave and he was going to go out of the city, because that's a sure death. If it was anyone else, not with the stamina of Musa alayhi salam, the strength of Musa, he would have died. Can you imagine spending like 8 nights in the desert, 8 days in the desert with no food, no provision, nothing? Only very few people can survive. Maybe no one can survive these conditions. So it seems like he got out in a hurry and he was afraid. It says, فَخَرْجَ مِنْهَا خَائِفًا. He was so afraid. And one thing about the Quran, it doesn't sugarcoat anything. Oh, because Musa cannot be weak, because he's a prophet. No. Musa is a human being. Unlike many of us. We pretend that we're not afraid. I have tawakkul on Allah. So what? You have tawakkul and you're afraid. So what? Musa had tawakkul and he was afraid. We're humans, and sometimes, I don't know what it is, sometimes maybe the upbringing, the education we have, we think that because you're a Muslim, you cannot behave like a human being. So therefore, you cannot be sad, you cannot be, afraid, you cannot be scared. These things don't contradict. You can be a strong believer and still be afraid sometimes. You can be a strong believer and have tawakkul and yet be sad. The Prophet ﷺ, when his baby died, Ibrahim, he said, إِنَّ الْقَلْبَ لَيَحْزَنُ. Indeed, the heart feels sadness. That's fine, it's totally okay. It's human nature. So as Muslims, we should not go against the human nature and say, "Hi, because I have a strong tawakkul on Allah, I have huge confidence and trust in Allah, and therefore I don't feel sadness." What, you are a robot? Of course you feel sadness. You probably pretend that you don't have sadness, but deep down you do. Deep down you feel scared, and you might be scared to death, although you pretend that you don't. So the Quran is very clear. It says, فَخَرَجَ مِنْهَا. We saw how strong Musa. He was not like a wimp. Musa was a very strong man. Yet it tells us, فَخَرَجَ مِنْهَا خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبُ. He fled out of the city and he was afraid. And he was, on top of that, يَتَرَقَّبُ, like he was looking around, as if someone was following him. So it tells us how afraid it is. And the Quran is very graphic in the description. Like, imagine somebody like running, getting out of that city, knowing that someone is following him, and looking around. Like, somebody will see me sometime, in a moment maybe they see me and they, catch me. So فَخَرَجَ مِنْهَا خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبُ قَالَ رَبِّ نَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. You can see that he's making dua on a regular basis. So he said, "My Lord, save me from the oppressing people, these people of oppression. Save me. So he's making a dua like he knows he's in big trouble. And, oh Lord, save me. So that's the first concern. When he immediately got out of the city, the immediate concern was not the direction. He just wanted to run away from the danger. And that's why you look at the dua was different. Initially he was saying, oh Lord, save me from the danger. Save me from death, because they're after me and they're going to kill me. Now later, as he got out and he was away from the city, you see his dua changed. So then he said, لَمَّا تَوَجَّهَ تِلْقَاءَ مَدْيَنَ. Now he's away and now he's going toward a direction. Then he made another dua. And the other dua was, as we mentioned, قَالَ عَسَى رَبِّي أَنْ يَهْدِيَنِي سَوَاءَ السَّبِيلِ. Now I need guidance because I have no idea where to go. And if I'm lost, I'll die. You know, if he was lost for a long time, and no food, no drink, maybe a little bit of water if he found some maybe pond or oasis, but that's it. And in some narration it says that he was eating from the leaves of the trees. And Ibn Abbas mentioned in one athar that he was so hungry his stomach stuck to his back, like it was totally empty. So imagine, having to travel with an empty stomach. And his shoes were falling apart. All of that for the sake of Allah and to protect and defend the weak, the oppressed. This was a mission of Musa throughout his life. Now also, if you remember, this is the second time where the life of Musa was in danger. When was the first time? When he was a baby. Immediately when he was born, he was in danger. Right away, right there. His life was in danger. And this is now the second time. His life is in danger. If they caught him, they would have killed him right away. Because the Pharaoh was thinking, well, I raised this boy. I give him everything. I was going to kill him anyways, but they convinced me not to. And now look what he did. So of course he was going to get him, and he was going to kill him. So his life was in danger, and this is the second time where his life was in danger. Also, what you notice about Musa, throughout his life, he's always on the run. He's always on the road. So now he traveled to Midian, and then he's going to come back. And then again, he's going to save his people. And then they're going to cross again. And then, we know also the story of Khidr, which was another journey. And we probably don't know the exact timing of that journey, but it was after he was saved, it seems, from the Pharaoh. And then at the end of his life, we know that because his people were not willing to go into the Holy Land, into Jerusalem, they were punished for 40 years. What was the 4 years? Wandering. They were going around and around. We call it what? The diaspora, or the lost years. And Musa was in that crowd because he did not go by himself. Right? So even when he died on the road. He died on the road. He did not have a home. He was not settled. He was traveling. He was going around. So imagine all his life, from the beginning, from when he was a baby, he was thrown in the river. At the end of his life, he was wandering. 40 سنة يتيهون في الأرض. 40 years getting lost in the land. And only from the later generation that they were able to enter Jerusalem, but not in his lifetime. So Musa alayhi salam must have died in that time period, when it was during the 40 years, it must have been, we don't know exactly when, but was during those 40 years. So he died on the road as well. So you see the immense sacrifice that this prophet gave. And I think the big lesson we learn here is that this life is not for settling. As the Prophet told us in the hadith, كن في الدنيا كأنك غريب أو عابر سبيل. Now that doesn't mean that you're going to have to be in your car on some highway. No. But it means that you don't settle for less. And you don't settle for comfort. Many people want to live in the comfort zone all their lives. And that's the average life. That's the mediocre life. But you want to live a thrilling life and for a good cause, look at Musa alayhi salam. Look at the story of Musa alayhi salam and the amount of sacrifice He gave for a great cause, and that is to defend his people, to save his people. As we said, one of his missions, he stated his mission, An arsil ma'iya bani Israel, release those people. You've enslaved those people, release them, and I'll take them. I'll take them somewhere else. But they cannot live in those conditions. So he's always thinking of his people, trying to save his people, and not wanting people to live in such a condition where they are humiliated, they're underprivileged, and they are persecuted. This is not the type of life that a Muslim should live. But also it's a metaphor for life itself. As the Prophet told us, and he told Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, he told him, كن في الدنيا كأنك غريب أو عابر السبيل. Be in this life like a stranger or like a traveler. That's what the Prophet told Ibn Umar, one of the companions. He said, be in this life like a stranger or a traveler. Now let me ask you, what is so special about a stranger or a traveler? Why did the Prophet tell us that? How can you be like someone who's traveling or a stranger?
It's not permanent.
It's not permanent, okay. But how can you be like that all your life? I mean, obviously not everybody can be like Musa, because Musa was literally traveling from one place to another. What is so special about a traveler? Yes?
You shouldn't get too attached with what you have.
Very good. Let's say you're going on a trip, and again, we'll make it, something practical, you can imagine. Let's say you're going on a trip to California. You mentioned California. And on the way, you got a little tired, or it got dark, and you decided to take it for, call it for the day and go to a hotel and spend the night. Now let's imagine you go to this hotel. It's a beautiful hotel, it's like a resort maybe, and you had enough money, you're a rich person, or maybe it was affordable, they had a very good discount. So you go to this beautiful resort, and you go inside and you see, it's not just the nice rooms, which are big and, roomy, and it's got lots of, nice furniture, the beds are, very comfortable. And then you go around, you look, they have free dinner, it's a beautiful dinner, and then they have, all kinds of sports, there's a swimming pool, there's a gym, all of that. So you kind of say, well, you know what? This is so nice. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna stay here. What do you think? Most people don't do that. Well, maybe some people, maybe 4 people say, it's so beautiful here, I'm gonna stay here. And you forget your destination. Now we think it's funny, but this is how most people live in this life. Because they don't understand the purpose of this life. The purpose of this life is to get ready for the hereafter. But if you don't know about the hereafter, or you do, but you don't believe in it, or you believe in it, but it's just a superficial belief. It's not a deep belief. What's going to happen is, it's exactly like what happened to this person, this traveler. They got so excited with that room or that hotel, and they forget about what? The destination. That's what happens to most people here. They are so excited and attached to this life that they forget about the hereafter. They forget about the destination. So that's really a very big lesson here of being on the road. Sometimes it is literal, it's physical, and sometimes it is metaphorical. But the point is not to be attached and not to be hung up or hung on this temporary life. Okay, so inshallah, I don't want to stay too long today because I have to leave. But maybe I'll wrap it up with a couple of important points. We see when Musa alayhi salam came and he arrived to Midian. So it says, وَلَمَّا وَرَدَ مَاءَ مِدْيَنَ. Now you notice that he immediately went to the water. Why do you think that?
thirsty and
Duh, of course, he was thirsty. But was this the only reason? Obviously, he went there because, as we said,
people
he was
gather
traveling for a
around.
long time.
Usually that time people gather around the water.
Very good. So people would gather around the wells. This is actually something from the past. I mean, the old days. The well was a place where you socialize. If you're old enough, some of you are, and especially if you lived in a country where it's somewhat agricultural, where it's like a farmer land or more like a village or a town, and people still went to get water from the wells, you do see that there are a lot of people that gather around there. So it's a place where people get together and might, socialize even. But what's also important is that usually, if you need help, you would go there. Because this is where people might offer something. They're hospitable. If they see a stray person, someone who's been, traveling or lost, they will be willing to help in that, setting. So it seems like this was the intention of Musa as well. Not just to drink water, but also to get to know the people. Who are they to? I mean, he's coming to a new land, so he needs to know the people. And maybe someone will look at him and will help him. Because he was in dire need of help. So it says, وَلَمَّا وَرَدَ مَاءَ مَدْيَنْ وَجَدَ عَلَيْهِ أُمَّةً مِّنَ النَّاسِ. He found lots of people. That's what he wanted. So he saw a lot of people. وَوَجَدَ مِن دُونِهِمْ إِمْرَأَتَيْنِ تَذُودَانِ. And he saw two women who were sitting on the side. It seems like those people were not courteous. So they would not let the women first, as we say, ladies first. They did not do that. So they were fighting over the water, and the two women didn't want to fight. So they were waiting for everybody else to finish. So it says, وَوَجَدَ مِن دُونِهِمْ إِمْرَأَتَيْنِ تَذُودَانِ. So Musa alayhi salam, and that tells us about Musa, and the fact that he was a real man. And this is an act of chivalry, as we say. He looked at these two women and he said, what's wrong? How come you're not getting water? Like everybody is getting water and you're waiting for a long time, you're not getting water. So he was not shy. He said, I don't talk to women. No, this is a place where you need to help. So it's a place where you talk. And there's a big difference. I mean, unfortunately, we see two extremes here. Some people, they are so strict. Like you don't even say salam to anyone, to women. You don't do anything. Even if it's an old woman, they're not going to say salam to her. To that point. And the other extreme, they chat, they flirt and everything. SubhanAllah, Islam is in the middle. Nobody's telling you to flirt, but don't be like, a wall and you don't say anything. So here there's a reason for Musa to intervene. He saw these two women, these two poor women on the side. They could not get the water. So he was asking, what's wrong? قَالَتَا لَا نَسْقِي حَتَّى يُصْدِرَ الرِّعَاء. They said, we're not going to get any water until everybody is done. So it seems like they were very modest, chaste women. They had values. They had, they had respect for themselves, as we say. لا نسقي حتى يصدر الرعاء وأبونا شيخ كبير. And our father is very old, so he's not going to be able to come and do it himself. So we're doing it for him. We're also helping our father. So we see that they are dedicated to their father. They're helping the father. And at the same time, they have a sense of shame that many women, unfortunately, lack today. So Musa, again, an act of chivalry. He said, I will do it. I will help you. Of course I will. I mean, again, this is part of my mission. See, Musa alayhi salam understood his mission from day one. His mission is to help people. It doesn't matter if they're Egyptian or they're Israelites or from Midian. It doesn't matter. Because he's out to help people. He's not only helping his people. He's not selfish. He just met these two women and he doesn't know them. He doesn't know them. So it says, فَسَقَى لَهُمَا ثُمَّ تَوَلَّى إِلَى الظِّلِّ. So he got the water for these two women, and then he went and sat in the shadow. Rather, in the shade. So shadow. He sat in the shade. Most likely the shade of a tree. And then he made another dua. So now we see a third dua. And Musa, obviously, he was a noble man. He was not gonna go around and ask people for help. He came to a place where he thought people will offer help. There's a big difference between going and begging people for help versus sitting and waiting. Maybe someone will help you. They will offer help for you. That's totally different. So it seems like nobody cared, right? And they even cared to let the women get the water. So obviously they're not going to help Musa. So he got the idea. Like, these people, maybe they're not going to help me. If they did not help these two women, and they are from the same village, and they were not courteous enough to let the women get the water themselves, they're probably not going to help me. They're probably not going to, host me in their houses. So then he made the following dua. And you see, every dua is customized to the need. Unlike sometimes the way we make dua. Sometimes we hear a dua is like a soup. You make dua for half an hour. From here, from there, and from everywhere. Make dua that is customized to your need. You're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not just like we do dua for the sake of dua. We make dua for the sake of, we made dua, mashallah, 45 minutes dua. The idea is not the time. You make the dua customized to what you need. You're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for something you need. So you see that Musa, in every step of the way, he's making a different dua. He's not making the dua, Rabbi najini min al-qawmi al-zalimin anymore. Because he's already saved. Nobody is following him anymore. He does not need to make that dua. And then he moved on to the second dua. Oh Allah, guide me so I can find the city of Midian. He's now already in the city of Midian. He does not need to make the second dua anymore. Because that dua is fulfilled. Now there's a third dua. What is the third dua? قال رب إني لما أنزلت إلي من خير فقير. He said, oh Allah, whatever you offer me, I am in need of that. Whatever kind of help, it doesn't matter who's going to come and how they're going to come and how they're going to invite me to their house, whatever, how they're going to give me provision, whatever it is, I am in need of it. So whatever you decree on me, whatever you decide for me, I'm okay with that. See that beautiful dua? So he said, Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya, whatever you give me, whatever you shower on me, anzalt, like something descending on him. So whatever you cause to fall on me, I am in need of it. Faqir here means needy. I'm in need of that, whatever it is. I'm in need of it. So inshallah, I'll stop here, right? And inshallah next time, which means in 3 weeks, we'll resume. And I know it's what do you call it? Hanger, whatever. We want to, inshallah, keep you interested and curious. So we won't tell you the rest of the story unless you go yourself and read it from the book, from the Quran. But inshallah, I'll stop here. And again, one thing I want to mention about Midian in particular, because some people confuse this with something else. We know that there is a prophet who was sent to the people of Midian. Do you know who he was? Shu'aib. Now, some people claim that the father of these two women was Shu'aib. Have you heard of that? Some of you have. Now, do you think it is, even if his name is Shu'aib, let's assume some scholars claim that his name was Shu'aib. I mean, the Quran doesn't tell us his name. But even if his name was Shu'aib, do you think that he was Shu'aib the prophet? Yes?
No.
If you say yes, you have to tell me why.
It's a different time, I think.
It is a different time.
Yeah, before.
Shu'aib was around what time?
Long time before.
Long time before that, because Shu'aib was around the time of Lut alayhi salam, and around that time, Lut and and Ibrahim and all of that, right? So Shu'aib was close to that time. So obviously this was way after, because we know Musa came way after Yusuf. We mentioned one time that approximately the time between Yusuf and Musa was 400 years. So that's quite a time, quite a distance. Now some scholars mentioned there was a deep lesson, a profound lesson in Musa ending up in Midian. What do you think the lesson is? Like, why Midian out of... And I think the correct opinion is that Midian is in Jordan today. And in Jordan, there is a well that the government still takes care of. And it says, the water of Midian. And I believe there's still water, Allahu Alam. But they keep it, and they have like... I think like a sign or something that says this is the water of Midian that Musa, and I think might have the ayah written وَلَمَّا تَوَجَّهَ تِلْقَاءَ مَدْيَنَ, something like that. So that's quite a distance in Jordan, right? But why that place? Why did Musa alayhi salam end up in a place where another prophet was there? I promise this is the last question of the night. If you answer correctly, you can go home. Big prize. Do you guys remember the punishment that these people received after? Because obviously they rejected Shu'aib, right? What was the message of Shu'aib, by the way? I mean, of course, he called people to monotheism, to Tawheed, but he had another message. These people were committing a sin. The people of Midian were committing a sin. What was that? What was that sin?
No, they were cheating.
Cheating in the business.
Yes, very good. They were cheating in business. When they were measuring like the items, the commodities, whatever, they would cheat. And they were making tatfif. We have in Surah Al-Mutaffifun also that it is a major offense, that it is a major sin. وَيْلٌ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ. So we know it's a major sin because Allah said, wail, woe, to these people who make tatfif. So if you're buying from them, they give you, they tell you, for example, it's 5 kilograms, but it's 4 kilograms. So they're cheating. They don't tell you the exact amount. So these people of Shu'aib were doing that. They were cheating in buying and selling. So Shu'aib came to them and he warned them and he said, this is a major sin, you can't do that, you cannot cheat in business. And they did not listen. And he kept, reminding them until they got the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the Quran it mentioned it was عَذَابُ يَوْمِ الظُّلَّةِ. Some scholars say it was more like an earthquake and their homes, their houses were destroyed. So it seems that when Musa alayhi salam came and he found the city of Midian, in it was a great reminder that those people who oppress, Allah is capable of punishing them. Because imagine he was fleeing from the Pharaoh. And I'm sure if you lived under the reign of the Pharaoh, people would think that he is immortal, that he is so strong that nobody will ever defeat him, that he will never go away. And by the way, you think it's not true, but if people lived under tyranny for a long time, they become like that. They start developing this idea that these people will never go away. This tyrant will never go away. So this is a reminder for Musa that Allah is well capable, and that look what happened to these people, and that's a reminder for you and for everyone else. No matter how long these people oppress, eventually they will get their punishment. So imagine this is a constant reminder for Musa alayhi salam now, because he's going to live there for 10 years. He's reminded every day, looking at these destroyed houses, this is what Allah can do. So that's a great lesson for Musa alayhi salam. And that's going to increase his confidence, his trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's going to see, he sees the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he believes, he's already a believer, but that's going to strengthen his belief. So that's a great lesson. And there's another lesson, by the way. The fact that he made it all the way, such a far distance, that increased his tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one more thing. The fact that he was spending all these nights alone on the way and traveling by himself, he would have developed another ibadah, which is al-uns billah, to feel, when you feel the company of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's another great lesson, and an act of worship, where you don't feel lonely anymore. Even if you're by yourself, you're alone, but you do not feel loneliness. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Musa was alone, but he was not lonely, because he had what we call al-unsu billah. And that's where my name comes from, Anas, from uns, which is to feel a company of someone, the good company of someone. That's the meaning of uns, to feel the good company of someone. So Musa alayhi salam was experiencing and feeling the company of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that only happens when you're by yourself on a journey. And that's why in the dua of safar we say, Allahumma anta rafiqu fi safar. You are the company. You are my company and my travel. Okay. So that's it. That's all I have, inshallah, for tonight. If you have any questions or comments, otherwise we'll call it an end. Yes.
Yeah, actually, what is evidence of when Musa killed the man and the people gathered to harm him? What is the evidence that those people were the soldier of Pharaoh?
It didn't happen right away. First, when he killed the first man, it seems like it was kept a secret. But the second day, when he came again, he was already scared, and he saw now that this same man was fighting another person of the Pharaoh, of the followers of the Pharaoh. He did not kill this second man, right? Because he spared him, right? But he found out now that he's a follower of the Pharaoh. He's from the army of the Pharaoh. Musa did not kill him, but this man now knew that it was Musa who killed the man yesterday. So he most likely he went and told. Now, how do we know?
Musa at this time he was raised in the Pharaoh's house, and he wasn't like high rank person in the ruling family.
Yeah, sure.
So if he killed someone in the army or some of the high position officers, it doesn't mean that the army gonna gather or the soldiers gonna gather to kill him while he's living in the Pharaoh.
So we have two clues here for your question. We have two clues. The number one clue, when he killed the first man, it says the next morning, فَأَصْبَحَ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبُ. So it seems like he got some clue that he was in trouble. Because why would he be scared? And he was vigilant, it says, يَتَرَقَّبُ, like vigilant. But the bigger clue, where we see later, وَجَاءَ رَجُلٌ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ يَسْعَى قَالَ يَا مُوسَى إِنَّ الْمَلَأَ يَأْتَمِرُونَ بِكَ لِيَقْتُلُوكَ. So it seems like this man had some intimacy, or he had a way into the castle. So he heard, actually, it wasn't like he's making up stuff. He heard these people conspiring, and they said, we want to kill Musa.
Okay. But the mala here, it means the public, right? The mala is like we are.
Al-mala huwa ilyatul qawm. The definition of mala in the Arabic language, it means the nobles, the higher rank of society.
Not public or
not necessarily. Maybe in modern Arabic it could mean mala, like you said.
Yeah.
But if you look in the dictionary, it means ilyatul qawm, the high ranking members of society.
But it still doesn't mean that even if they are the nobles or the high ranking people in the society, it doesn't mean that the soldier of Pharaoh who were following him or was about after him.
It doesn't matter, even if it wasn't. We know somebody was trying to kill him.
My point is, the Pharaoh himself, at this point, he doesn't have anything against Moses.
I mean...
because he was almost his dad. I mean, he's
yes.
the one who raised him in his palace.
No.
And even if he
but let me ask you, Pharaoh had control of everything in that city. Nobody would take a decision like that without the consent of the Pharaoh. Because they know very well they're going to be in big trouble. Like if we agree with you, with your theory, that it was not the decision of the Pharaoh, it was someone else who wanted to kill him. Imagine, would they think for a moment to do that while knowing, as you said, that Musa was very close to his father and that his father loved him so much and that father happens to be the Pharaoh? Would they go and do something on their own and put their life in danger? Probably not very likely. Allah. I don't know. This is speculation, but this is my take on it.
Mubarak, he's free. He didn't kill anyone.
Right? Yes, go ahead. You made her wait for too long. Now she has to.
Okay.
Why did the Pharaoh wanted to kill Sayyidina Musa?
Oh, that's a long story.
Well, the quick answer, that's a good question. We talked about it last time. Because Musa killed one of his men by mistake. That's a short answer.
Yeah, she came late.
Yes, he was trying to defend his friend, and in the process he killed a man who was from the Pharaoh's, followers or army. So that's why.
Unintentional.
Yes.
Again, the theory, let's say if the Mala was, trying to kill Musa,
Yeah.
he would have gone to return to the palace. I mean,
Exactly. That's another. Yes.
Rather
Yes.
than running away. Which is,
So we have another response. He said, if it was not the Pharaoh, it was someone else, like some group of people who want to kill Musa, then Musa would have fled to the palace. Why would he flee out of the city?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a very good point. Thank
That's-
you.
Yeah, that's good
A very good point. Strong point. Okay. Anyone else? Any other questions or comments? Anyone? Yes.
You mentioned something about when God said in the Quran, قال إنها محرمة عليهم 40 سنة يتيهون في الأرض.
No.
There are some people who say محرمة عليهم and stop and then 40 سنة يتيهون في الأرض. Which means it's not forbidden for them 40 years. It means that it's forbidden to them
Forever.
period, and then they're gonna be wandering in the earth for 40 years.
No. Anyways, there are two qira'at, as you said, and if you look in the Mus'haf, you can stop either way. Both are correct. Okay. Oh, I didn't realize. So some people listening upstairs.
Yes.
Okay. So I did not repeat any question. I apologize. So the question was back to this ayah, which I'm not going to expand on because we're going to talk about it in detail when we get to that part of the story. But the question was about the ayah that says that these people will be lost for 40 years. There are two ways to read the verse. One way is to say 40 سنة محرمة عليهم محرمة عليهم 40 سنة يتيهون في الأرض. So if you stop at محرمة عليهم and you stop and then you say 40 سنة 40 سنة يتيهون في الأرض, it means that it is forbidden on them forever, but they'll be lost for 40 years. That's one way to look at it. Versus saying it's forbidden on them only 40 years. So these are the two ways of reading the ayah, and I think both of these readings are correct because you have an option of stopping at either stop. But it seems, wallahu alam, even if that is true, we look later when it was Yusha bin Nun who eventually entered Jerusalem, he got a permission from God, from Allah. And if in fact in the hadith it says that he spoke to the sun and he said, أنا مأمور وأنت مأمورة. I am commanded and you are commanded. So I ask you to wait until I enter the city. This is a hadith, but it's, the point I'm trying to make from that narration, it says that he is commanded. So the question is, well, who commanded him? It was Allah who commanded him. So it seems like he got the okay from Allah to enter the city. I'm sure those people who have this interpretation, they want to prove that it's forbidden to them up till today. That's the idea, I think. Anyways, we have other proofs. We don't need to resort to that because we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, so whoever is righteous have the right. If we're going to argue about the right, because you have Jews up till today arguing that we have a right to this land, and this is why we go and take it from the Palestinians, and this is why we have every right to deprive them from their own land, because God wrote it for us long time ago. That's their claim. So this is a counterclaim here. But again, I think even the more obvious claim in the Quran is that the righteous people will inherit these, especially these holy lands. And this is why we know through the Muslim expansion, they got Jerusalem, and they got it up till recently. It was under the Muslim rule. So inshallah, this is good enough. Oh, there's one more, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, just to comment, even though Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam was raised in the palace, so you think that he's going to be pampered and he's going to be weak, but he was survival. He was able to survive all this.
Yeah, and I think the journey is part of Allah raising Musa alayhi salam. Because remember, we know that Allah raised Musa under his eyes. وَاصْطَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي وَلِتُصْنَعَ عَلَى عَيْنِي. So we keep hearing in the Quran that it was Allah who made Musa what he was. Musa was made under the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I'm very sure that the journey that he took was part of that. That maybe in the palace he was pampered, like you said, and he was, given everything he wanted. Now there's another phase where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself wanted to raise Musa the right way. So this is another phase of his life where he endured all of that because he needed that. It's part of your personality, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shapes you. So this is part of the fact that Allah is, making you who you are. And this is another lesson, that sometimes we think that if Allah gave me a rough time, that He doesn't like me. No, it's the opposite. We have a saying, هو أعطاك أعطى بعض الناس ليمنعهم ومنعك ليعطيك. Like sometimes He might deprive you so He can give you. He gives you something in return. He gives you a very good quality. He deprived you of something, but He gave you in return a character, a quality, a habit, a behavior that you did not have before. So this is also a very good lesson. Jazakallah khair.
So 3 weeks from now?
No, we will. I think we will continue, but I won't be here.
We'll have pizza next time.
We'll have pizza. So
Wow.
I think I'm equal to pizza.
Musa?
Is that what it is? I'm equal to pizza now? Okay.
Pizza and halakha.
Pizza and halakha. Okay, so we do have a halakha, not just pizza. So
Last comment, please.
sure, go ahead.
I think after the two conclusions, I guess at this time Musa was already discovered that he is from the Israelis or from the...
Most likely. In fact, we mentioned last time that...
Pharaoh knows as well.
Yeah. The Pharaoh knew from the beginning.
They are not in a very good relationship at this time. Maybe the Pharaohs didn't order the killing of Musa, but he just turned his face away from it.
So you insist on that. Sure, I don't know. We don't have, like I said, yes, it's a speculation, so it could be true.
It is nothing has been solid, there is no solid information in this point.
Sure, you're right.
So we just discussing it to see what makes sense.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, so
this is what we call, this is tadarus. We're studying together. So it doesn't mean that my opinion is correct and your opinion is wrong. This is tadarus. It means
my understanding.
we give and take, yes.
I can respond to that one. The ayah when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to go to Pharaoh, what did he respond? What did he say? If I go there,
وَقَتَلْتُ مِنْهُمْ نَفْسًا فَأَخَافُ أَنْ يَقْتُلُونَ.
So that's the evidence of it. If I go to...
But still, he could argue back. Now I'm going to speak on your behalf. He could say in return, this might be just a fear. It could be just a fear in Musa. It doesn't mean that Pharaoh necessarily had the same thing in mind. It could be just something in Musa's head. Allahu alam. Very good. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاكم الله خير.